Thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay. And so, before we dive in, can you tell us what brought you to Scottsbluff, Nebraska, of all places?
That's a great question. So what brought me here was I got offered to be the assistant coach here for Corey Farringer. Corey Farringer was my head coach in college. And before he took the job here, we were supposed to be going to Williston in North Dakota, which is Division I JUCO as well. And he took the job here and asked me if I still wanted to move to Scottsbluff, and I agreed and had no idea what I was doing or what I was getting myself into, but decided to come here at 24 years old, and honestly, it ended up being the best decision of my life, really. Met my wife here. My kids were born here. From Miami to Scottsbluff, Nebraska.
Very cool. So you grew up in Miami, and then your wife grew up here?
Yep. My wife's from Gearing. I was born in Cuba, but we came over when I was 6, and I lived in Miami the rest of the time. And honestly, I've lived out in the Midwest longer than I ever did in Miami. So I've spent my adult life in the Midwest.
Very cool. Can you tell us a little bit more about where you grew up and what your early life was like?
So I was born in Cuba, in a really small town, really poor, third world country, and I grew up playing outside with no shoes, and just being out till the lights came on and mom's yelling for you to come inside the house. I grew up playing a lot of sports. I played baseball, basketball, football. Football was kind of late for me because, coming from a different country, I wasn't very familiar with it. Baseball, I played a lot of, and basketball was my first love. So I grew up, being outside. A lot different than it is now. I mean, even my kids don't spend that much time outside, but I grew up outside getting dirty.
Very cool. You did basketball when you were young there as well?
Yes. I always played basketball when I was younger. Then when we moved to the States, I played baseball first and then basketball. In my family, we're all baseball family, so everyone was kind of thrown off when I chose to play basketball. But a lot of basketball, a lot of baseball growing up for me.
Very cool. What challenges have you faced along your journey as a player, a coach, or in general as a person?
I faced a lot of challenges, but I would say for me the biggest one was just adapting to the culture of going from living in Miami where, everyone's pretty much all Hispanic, speaking Spanish and English in school. And then, when I went to school in North Dakota, just getting used to small town living and how quiet and peaceful it is compared to where I come from. And I think, moving to Scottsbluff was really good for me because, now that I'm older, I actually enjoy, the slow pace, not so much the fast pace. I always tell a story, whenever I go back to Miami to go recruit or to go see my family, I'm always scared and freaked out because everybody's moving really fast and people are kind of crazy. And then you show up here and everything's just slow and really calm. So I think me adapting to the lifestyle of Midwest America was big time for me because I'm technically really loud. So, you show up in a room and you're talking way louder than what people are used to. And people don't really speak like that around here. So I think that was probably my biggest learning curve, just toning it down a little bit and just realizing that not everybody's trying to hear you, So I think that was huge for me.
So is it kind of hard, your family, is it just you and your wife and kids here, and then your parents are back in Miami?
So my mom passed away in 2010. My dad is in Miami. And I have, a couple aunts and uncles that live in Miami, but not a ton of family. My aunt, when I told you guys the story, my aunt that I lived with, she's not my biological aunt. She's married to my uncle, who's my mom's cousin, but she's been around me since I was really little, so she kind of took on that role, especially when my mom passed away. But yeah, just my dad and some close cousins and aunts and uncles. Yeah.
Is there any still in Cuba?
Oh, I have a ton of family in Cuba. So, Cuba's kind of behind the 8 ball when it comes to technology. So, my family in Cuba just finally figured out Facebook a couple years ago. So I get a lot of, messenger messages on Facebook. But I have a lot of family in Cuba. Like most of my mom's side and my dad's side are all in Cuba still.
Very cool. Do you ever visit there then?
I've been back a couple times. Last time I was back was 2011. I haven't been back in a long time. The last time I was there was with my mom and my dad, and then my mom ended up passing away 3 years after we were there. And before that, we had gone 2 other times. But I haven't been back in probably, I want to say 22 years, which is a long time.
Yeah, it's kind of a long time. Was there a moment in your life where you felt like everything changed, and like what happened in that? Or was it kind of
Yeah, 2010, when my mom passed away. My mom was really the foundation of our family. You know, she was the educated one. She worked. She was a teacher at the time in Miami. And we lived a very, very, very regular life to where, you know, we had place to stay. We were, you know, we had everything we needed, my brother and I. And then in 2009, the beginning of the year, she got sick and things changed a lot. She wasn't able to work. We got evicted my senior year of high school. And I moved in with one of my really close friends. His mom took me in, so I spent the last 3 months of my senior year living with them. And my parents were living in a hotel provided by the government because my mom had cancer. So, yeah, I think 2010 was a big change for me, going from living a regular life, going into senior year, to being homeless and living with your friend. So I think 2010 was a very, very, very big year for good and for bad. So.
Did you do anything to like kind of counteract the pain of going through that, or?
No, I mean at the time, my counteract was being in the streets and getting in trouble and doing things I wasn't supposed to, and kind of living a reckless life. And the reason for that was because my mom was always really hard on me on, you know, school and this and that, and you know, she's sick. Her voice doesn't, you know, carry the same weight anymore because she was in the hospital all the time. So I kind of was just living a free for all at the time and just doing whatever I wanted and making a lot of mistakes. But a lot of mistakes to help me be here today, because it makes me relatable to my players. And if you ask any of my guys, I don't judge anybody. I don't ever come in thinking I know what you're going through. I just always try to be understanding and hear you out, because we all go through different things, right? And I was actually telling my daughter this yesterday. She says she didn't like this girl in her class. And they're doing this thing, this lawyer thing, this courtroom thing. And I was like, hey, like, as much as you say you don't like her, you also don't know what her home life is like, right? I said, what if her home life is, you know, somebody's abusive, or she doesn't get attention, and now she's in school trying to get the attention she doesn't get at home. So I think all the stuff that I went through has helped me be a better head coach, not because of anything that has to do with basketball, but because I'm always going to be understanding and try to, you know, understand people for what they're going through, because we all go through different things. So.
Very good.
Wonderful.
Who or what has been the biggest influence on the path you've taken?
Corey Farringer has been by far the biggest influence. I actually just got off the phone with him a little bit ago. When Corey Farringer met me, I was 19 years old, and I was a lost soul, and I had no idea what I was doing in my life, and he straightened that out for me. He was really hard on me. He was really hard on me when I was his assistant here. I was 24 years old, and he still treated me like a player when I played for him. And he's been by far the biggest role model in my life. I lived with him, and he showed me that you can have tough love and still have love. Like, tough love is still love, and holding people that you care about accountable is really important. And I think there's a misconception of, if I tell you or try to hold you accountable, that I don't care about you, when in reality it's the other way around. And I tell this to the guys all the time, like, when I stop talking to you and trying to correct you, that's when you need to start scratching your head, because that means I'm done with you. But if I'm constantly on you, right, trying to get you to fix something, is because I obviously see something in you. So I think I learned that from Coach Corey, and the fact that he was able to show me tough love and care about me and do the same things that I'm trying to do for these guys, there's no question that he's the biggest role model I've ever had.
Very Pretty nice. So he came from Miami as well?
No, he was my coach in North Dakota. So he's from Sterling, Colorado.
Okay.
He was his first year as a head coach was the year I played for him, which is my sophomore year, and that's when I met him. And at first he told me not to show up because I had gotten in trouble my freshman year before he was there, and I had to pretty much beg him to let me come and be on the team, and he did. And I held my end of the bargain. I didn't get in trouble. I wasn't doing anything that I wasn't supposed to, and I put in a lot of work. And honestly, he's the one person besides my mom that showed me that like hard work does pay off, right? And I think I spoke about it at the deal the other day. Like, this generation is so afraid to work hard because if they still don't get what they want, they're gonna be like, well, I did all that for nothing. When in reality, you just work hard because that's what you're supposed to do. So I think I learned, like, work hard does pay off. Even if it doesn't pay off today, it might pay off next month. Maybe next year. Everybody's timeline is different. But I definitely learned that from him.
It's very admirable.
No, yeah, thank you.
How have you gotten through obstacles that might have discouraged someone else?
So the way that I handle adversity, and I think this has just been a trait that I was born with, is I kind of just always try to look the other way, right? And whenever things are going bad for me, I always tell myself that no matter how bad you have it, there's somebody out there that has it way worse. And your circumstances right now doesn't mean that has to be you forever. So I feel like anytime I've been in a bad situation or, a spot where most people will crumble, I just always look for what's ahead and what's good about it, right? I always tell our guys, like, a loss is not a loss, it's a lesson. Like, you're not, like, yeah, you lost the game, but are you going to learn from the loss and how you lost? So I feel like I treat my life like that. I try to get my kids to be like that too, and it's easier said than done, but I don't dwell too much on the bad. I just look at the good. Like, bad is going to happen, right? The world is full of evil and it's full of really good people, and you just have to find a balance of who you really want to be around, right? Yeah. And I choose to be around the good and not over here. So I feel like just finding the good in everything is how I treat life.
Okay. So what kind of made you stay in Scottsbluff? Was it just the coaching?
Oh, for sure, coaching. So before when I was the assistant here for 4 years, I left to Laramie County. I was in Cheyenne for a year, and then I took off to Kansas, and I was the assistant coach at Cowley in Kansas, which is like a really big time, junior college is considered a powerhouse. I was there for 3 years as an assistant, and then the job opened here, and Coach Bergner, who's my boss, offered me a job, and I took it on the spot because, again, like, I learned, I became an adult here. I was here from 24 to 28. So Scottsbluff is a place that I hold dear in my heart, and it was really easy for me to come back. So I don't see myself going anywhere, but it's the coaching world, and you never know what can happen. So, but I would love to be in Scottsbluff for the rest of my life. That's for sure.
It's very cool. It's a little small, but yeah. It is.
I know a lot of people don't feel that way, but you understand where I come from. Like,
yeah.
It's just being able to raise my kids in an environment like this where, it's more family oriented than a place like Miami. I was just telling a friend of mine who's talking about homeschooling his kids in Miami, and it's different, right? You picture going to school. I graduated with 4,500 people in my graduating class. First of all, you're not going to know everybody in your class when it's that many people. Second, the teachers aren't going to know everybody. Like, our government class, my senior year, was split into 4, and it was always an auditorium, and our group had 350 students, and then every other group had 350 students. So think about going into government. It's like going to college or going to a big university, except we were in high school. So I think, like, the small town living and just the personable side of being in a small town is great, and I want my kids to be raised that way and not so much in a big city. So, yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, community would be easier.
Way easier. Yeah. High school was a blur for me, let me tell you. I didn't learn a lot in high school. And then when I showed up to college, I didn't know much. And I always tell people, like, I learned how to learn in college, right? Because learning is not just showing up and listening. Like, you have to know how to learn and taking notes and being prepared, right? It's like a basketball game. Like, most kids think that you can just show up and do it, when in reality is, without preparation, there's no results, right? You have to prepare for whatever it is you do. So I think I learned that in college, and through a lot of hard times too, because my freshman year was not great. But my sophomore year, just understanding what it takes, and also being open-minded, because coming from Miami was like, I thought everybody in North Dakota was dumb. Come to find out, I was the only dumb person in North Dakota, because I didn't really take high school serious or took anything serious. So I think just having an open mind and understanding that we don't know everything. Like I tell our players all the time, is you don't know that you don't know. So if I don't know that I don't know. I'm in my second year as a head coach. There's no way that I'm the complete version of myself as a head coach in year 2. There's so many things that I still have to learn, and so many things that I have to get better at. So I feel like if you come in with an open mind and just know that you don't know, I think that's when you get better.
Many different experiences too.
Oh, exactly. Like you have to go through it. Like there were situations last year in games that we went through that like I had never gone through as a head coach or even as an assistant. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, God, I don't even know what to do. Like, but you have to go through it, right? And then the next time you just hope that that experience can help you the next time. And it might not the second time around or the third time. But I feel like knowing that you don't know is humongous. Especially for kids you guys' age, right? Like, we have a bunch of guys from the inner city, and they're very similar to me, to where they think they know everything because they come from a big city. When in reality is, you don't know anything. You haven't been through life enough to know. And when our parents tell us stuff, it always ends up being exactly what they tell us.
Yeah.
Like my mom would always tell me, hey, this is going to happen. And I used to be like, how does this lady know what's going to happen? And then that's exactly how it happened. So I think knowing that you have to go through experiences, and you have to go through good and bad in order to be successful at anything, not just basketball or going to college, anything you do. I mean, you can decide to go be, a vet. Like, there's no way you're going to show up to be a vet and be the best version of yourself, So, without going through some stuff.
Sorry.
And you're fine.
Socrates did say that true wisdom is knowing that you know nothing. Socrates, the philosopher, said that true wisdom is knowing that you don't know anything.
You don't know anything.
Yeah.
I tell, old head coaches all the time, because I have a pretty big network in the basketball world. And they're like, oh, how do you feel being a head coach? And I was like, man, coach, I came into it thinking I knew everything, and come to find out I actually don't know anything. And that's okay, right? You learn as you go, and like I said, you got to go into stuff with an open mind. I read this daily, stay positive, and it's a really good book, and it just talks about just having a positive mindset about anything that you do. And anytime you go into something negative, probably going to get a negative outcome. And I live by that. I've always been positive. I've always been upbeat. But there was a time there, especially after my mom passed, that I thought everybody in the whole world was against me, when it wasn't. It was just the circumstances I was in at the time. But, from the time I've been here to now, when I was an assistant, I literally take pride in showing up and being happy every day. Like, if you ask my players, I don't have a lot of bad days where I have a bad attitude. Because how can I ask you to have a good attitude and I show up with a bad attitude, So I read this all the time. Whenever I'm having a rough day and I'm in my feelings about different things, I just read that and remind myself that it's not about me. Because it's not. It's never about you. It's about us and everybody else, especially in a team setting. So, yeah, stay positive. I recommend it. Daniel Decker.
Awesome.
It's really good. It's like it makes you appreciate the little things when you read it. Like every page on it, it's like, oh, I should be more grateful that I had breakfast this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people that are gonna wake up and don't have breakfast. There's a lot of people that won't wake up today. It's one of those things where it's kind of cliche, and like guys that that I coach and stuff, 18, 19 boys, they're like, I'm not trying to hear that stuff. But if you really think about it, think about all the stuff that we do have that a lot of people don't have. Like the other day, the light went off on our block, and we didn't have lights for an hour, and our kids couldn't my kids in my house were like, there's no Wi-Fi, it's not working, the birds' heads are falling off outside, like the world's coming to an end, when in reality it's like, no, we didn't have electricity for an hour. We're going to be fine. In Cuba, where I'm from, every day at 6 o'clock, every day at 6 p.m., the lights go off, no matter what. Sometimes for an hour, sometimes for 2 hours. That's how the government functions. That's how they save on electricity. And the lights go off no matter what. And they're already in a third world country, living in shacks pretty much. And they don't complain. They just, hey, that's what it is. We got to put up with it. And we'll complain about what they serve us at the cafeteria.
Yeah.
You know? So, just being grateful.
How has the community shaped you, and how do you hope to shape it?
This community has helped shape me 1,000%. I've met so many people here who have been so good to me, from all walks of the world. But I learned here that community does matter, just because of all the support we get with basketball. And again, I can only speak for basketball because that's the sport that I'm in, but we get a ton of support. Our dorm family situation is really great. A lot of people reach out and try to help these kids. And what I've learned from Scottsbluff is that if you get a group of people, right, in a community to do what's right and care for one another, that's how you build a foundation for a big-time community. And it's not like that everywhere. But I think the reason why I love Scottsbluff is because how tight the community is. And again, there's always going to be, rotten apples out there, right? But I haven't ran into that. Like the coaches here, like for example, Coach Jones, my brother played for him. I golfed with him all summer. Our trainer, Doug, golfed with him all summer. And like those are guys that I really enjoy spending time with. And again, there's never judgment passed. There's never bad attitudes. It's just a bunch of guys who are happy to be out there playing golf, right? But I think one thing that I would like to give back to the community is just like a good brand of basketball and a team that has really, really good kids who are nice to people, who open doors, whether it's a old person or a young person or a tall girl or a skinny girl. It doesn't really matter. We want to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. I feel like we live in a time now where people, especially with social media, people do good things and post it because they think you're going to get good karma. When in reality, it's like, no, you do that because that's just the right thing to do. Like picking up trash. Like if I see trash outside, like doesn't matter what it is, I'm picking up the trash. So I think just giving back to the community and showing them that I've learned a lot from the people here. And all I want to do is just give back.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
What lessons from your life do you try to pass on to your players? I guess the same.
Yeah, I mean, I think big lesson for me is just the resilience side of it and not ever quitting. I try to, show these guys that, like, if you quit at this, man, you'll quit at anything. Like, this is easy to quit. Quitting at basketball is easy, right? Because you're not going to be in trouble for quitting basketball. You just quit basketball. But if you quit or you don't finish something, as you get older, it becomes a lot easier to not finish things. And I think there's less repercussions in basketball than there will be in real life when you have kids and when you're married. So I think just like for me personally, like I try to be as resilient as possible and show these guys that just don't quit. Whether you're up 20 points or down 20 points, you don't quit, because if you quit, that's who you are. And a lot of times we want to act as if our actions aren't who we are. Your actions is who you are, especially when you get to a certain age when you know right from wrong. Your actions determine who you are. So that's something I preach a lot. So, and who you hang out with is who you are too. That's a cliche one. I'm sure all of our parents told us. Who you hang out with is who you are, because you attract what you are. So if you're hanging out with the people who are smoking weed or getting in trouble and skipping school, that's who you are. Now, does that mean that's who you have to be? No. Does it mean you can't change? No, we can all change. But who you surround yourself with is who you are. And that's something that, some of us, it takes longer for some of us to realize. And, hopefully for the younger generation, we figure that out a little sooner than later.
I was gonna say yeah, because I would grow up and be like, oh yeah, that doesn't matter, and then
It matters.
yeah.
Yeah. Especially like, when you're young, it's like, and we always, Coach Corey taught me this, like, one thing that you don't ever do is take away the younger generations, excuse me, their, what's the word? Like their fantasies, right? Like, like, for example, my daughter's 3 and she hangs out with Spidey all day and she thinks she's out there doing that. Like, why would we take that from her, right? Because the older you get and the more life stuff happens to us, the more we lose that imagination, right? So let's not take their imagination, right? Let the kids have their imagination, because think about when you were little, how wild your imagination used to run, and the older you get, the less you have that because you're going through real life things, right? So I think just letting people have their imagination and using it and enjoying it, I think is huge, because we live in a world where everything is so serious and people are telling you you're crazy because you like anime or because you like this and that, when in reality, like, that's your imagination and that's cool to you. Yeah. So I think just like accepting what's cool to you might not be cool to me, but it's what you like and it has nothing to do and it doesn't affect me because that's what you like. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
Yes. I think that is all my questions. Thank you.
No, thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
This is humbling for sure, because